Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the GAIA Daily for September 4th through 7th, 2020. How are you doing? Well, we're in such a powerful alchemical time right now. We have had these really intense transits with Mars in squaring up with Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn in Capricorn, about to take a retrograde in its home sign of Aries. And then we have Venus in opposition. We have had Venus in opposition of these major planets in Capricorn, making the last couple weeks so power packed with pressure to move, to go back, to shift, to change, to adjust, to adapt, to be bounced around in this reality. And more what's coming forward is the power of this Mars retrograde in our permission to take back access to our life force. And powerful messages coming through around the alchemy of the masculine and the feminine as we heal and clear and discover and understand more about the mysteries in these archetypes. Because right now what we're feeling is Venus in square to Mars. So really powerful that these Venus and Mars have been making these transits with the big players in Capricorn. Now they're in square to each other. Now, when Venus and Mars are in square, it's like this opposing opposites of the masculine and the feminine. It's where we've allowed, and our whole world right now, where division, just the polarity, the opposites, how intense and powerful these polarity energies that are happening in our world as we go deeper and deeper into duality. On the other hand, though, those of us SuperNova souls who are being pushed and are going and are saying yes to this consciousness shift, as you move into the higher energies, we're like bumping up through these multiple levels of different dimensional frequency. And as you get closer to kind of exiting out of the matrix and exiting out of 3D, it's like those polarities are so opposite that they actually come back together. And that's this weird time we're in. And the stars, the planets for the supernova soul are saying, hey, pay attention to this, because there's a convergence of energies that are about trying to help us overcome duality consciousness, right? Because the brain is an organ of duality. If you take it out of the body, it falls into two pieces. But by using the right and left, by using the masculine and feminine within all of us, we all have masculine and feminine, right? Our right brain, left brain, and back all the way to Atlantean time. Since it started in Atlantean time, a very powerful and deliberate agenda to disconnect our right and left brain from working together. And it's like, oh, we have intuitive thinking, creative thinking. We have mechanical, intellectual thinking, right? And it's like, oh, you can have this or you can have this, right? You can have one side or the other. And it's almost like one side or the other getting so far apart that they're actually being brought back together, if you're ready for this. And so the energy is just like a potent kind of invitation for the supernova soul to use what's happening into your life, the contrast that you're being shown, to like flip the polarity on the whole, like victimhood. Things are happening to me. I'm feeling targeted, the way the supernova soul's been battling with these feelings, and like, okay, now I know I'm getting closer. I can feel that this is real. This is happening. And now everything that's happening to me is for me, actually. Because it's like once you come to the edge of that duality thinking, it's like, oh, those opposites are actually so far opposite that now they're the same. And this is this invitation for us to come out of duality thinking and come into the heart consciousness. The heart consciousness, we have conscious cells in our heart, just like in our brain, but it's a oneness consciousness. And that's what we're trying to activate into. But until we can find that balance between the masculine and the feminine and heal those archetypes and understand this mystical revelation that I feel like is beyond like we're just getting, like there's just deep, deep mysteries that are trying to come forward around what is masculine energy, what is feminine energy, and what does it mean to have the perfect balance of the two. Now, what's bringing this all forward is this Venus square Mars, and it's happening just before Venus moves into the sign of Leo at the very end degrees of Cancer. So it's interesting because the Mars energy is like trying to grab a hold of life force, claim back zest, living, meaning, purpose, everything, just this trying to go forward, trying to act, and yet getting ready to take a retrograde. The Venus energy is at the end degrees of Cancer, kind of like oversensitive. Whoa, I got way triggered into deep, like little baby or early, little child, energies and feelings, triggered into very vulnerable places right now. It's like we're bouncing back and forth between empowerment and grabbing a hold of that, and then vulnerability. And it's all in this mystical, magical, alchemical soup that is driving the collective crazy, but helping you exit the matrix if you are ready. We definitely had a shift at that Pisces full moon, and it's like the door is cracked for us to step through and allow ourselves to be in those higher dimensional frequencies. And what happens is, we were talking about, what I'm seeing is people get bounced around back and forth and maybe multiple dimensional frequencies. You'll go and visit this possibility place, and then it flares up all the belief systems, contracts, loyalty contracts, concepts, conditioning, programming that could possibly pull you back into the old paradigm, right? And then you're like bounced back there, and then bounced over here, and it's this pinball game. But that is also the magic of this time, is this dynamic time. And what we're trying to do is shoot off our rocket, expand into the star we are, come into our full potential. And this Mars retrograde wants to help us by pulling us back to get it right, kind of like, we got to jimmy the lock. We got to get used to these energies. We got to feel it needs to be sustainable, so we got to get it right. And that's why we're getting all knocked around right now. But it's interesting because Mars on next week on the 9th, we're not even in the Mars retrograde yet. And we're just like so in the energy, right? And it's going through the end of the year through January. So we're in it. But Mars is now taking a step back, right? It's like push, 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 push up against the wall, right? But Venus is moving out of the Cancer energy of that, going back over the Mercury retrograde and still confused from the Venus retrograde. And I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. I'm vulnerable and alone and all that. And it's this dark night of the soul that the feminine has gone through ever since March, April, when the whole Venus retrograde energy started. And now Venus moving over to Leo is a big shift. It's like finally seeing the backside of that dark night of the soul, stepping back into the light. And it's interesting because Leo is about expression, it's about shining, it's about showing, it's about telling, it's about being who, like expressing who you are out in the world. And so there's so much coming up around the suppressed feminine voice. Like if we look at these archetypes of the masculine and the feminine, what we're being asked to heal and learn more about and awaken the divine, enlightened aspects of these archetypes. The divine feminine is about rational reason, of compassionate reason, like humanity, treating each other the way we want to be treated, and love and compassion and healing and balance and harmony. And this voice of reason around compassion and human compassion has been silenced, right? It's like, no, we're going to go be a warring culture, and all that feminine magic, we're going to distort it and demean it. And of course, the feminine has its dark side, just like the masculine, right? But when we're talking about this exalted feminine, we're talking about the goddess that can show up in love, strength, but strength through love and compassion and what's best and good and right and feels good and makes people feel good. And why can't our world be like this? What's going on? Why is it so hard? Do we really want to go kill each other on the battlefield? Or is that a program that we've been stuck in for way too long, broken record, right? And so it's an interesting energy because the feminine voice, the divine, compassionate, reasonable, problem solving, peaceful problem solving energy, which is represented by Mercury moving into Libra. That happens tomorrow. So we got Mercury moving into Libra, bringing these energies to the surface. And, Venus is a ruler of Libra. And so at the end degrees of Cancer and square to Mars, and it's like we're looking at these masculine, feminine archetypes, but Libra represents balance, harmony, justice, making it fair and work for everybody, something we don't have a lot of on the planet, and that is because we've lost this exalted feminine voice. And it's interesting, the whole culture of being of the feminine, the burqa, being covered, being suppressed, and the masking. And it's like, it's really what's actually happening is the goddess is rising again to sing her song of truth and justice and harmony, and bringing our planet back to a more reasonable place where we can just feel better about the world we live in, and that's really what's happening. And so it's really interesting because we've got Mars being like, go, 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 fight, fight, fight. But, retrograde, got to take a step back. He's taking a step back. And then our feminine is coming out into the spotlight. And so interesting because, they're both Mars squaring those Capricorn planets of structures that have to break down, Venus opposing those planets of structures that have to break down. And so we're looking at structures of our belief system, programming of the masculine, the feminine, of the war of the sexes, of the war of the division, of the separation, divide and conquer. All of that is on the table, and it fits every level of experience of our world right now. And so for the SuperNova Souls, like, hey, there's an alchemical moment here, this contrast that's happening in your life, right? Almost like an experience on this end, and then all of a sudden you're on the other side of it. And it's like, whoa, there's some magic out there. It's also a little traumatic. It's getting banged around. It's a little stop and go, and 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And that's just kind of the energy of these times. But there's also just the way things are lining up, because get this, after the shift, so Mercury moves into Libra tomorrow, bringing up these energies of wanting harmony, balance, and the voice of the feminine, and justice, and, healing relationships, healing relations between each other, finding middle ground, finding a way to understand each other, very also much needed in this world, right? And but Venus and Mars in square, right? And that tension of the opposites. And then Venus moves into so tomorrow Mercury moves into Libra, and Venus moves into Leo on the next day. And so it's a big shift of energy. And listen to this, Mars Mercury, so Mercury moving into Libra means it's going to square up with Chiron next week. And then it's going to, that actually happens on the 11th. So, about a week. And then Venus in Leo will trine Chiron. And it's like, okay, so Mercury's in the relationship sign, ruled by Venus, trying to come back to some sort of harmony and balance of opposites, so he can get just like kind of, it's almost like some alchemical magic that can just put you back into that seed pod for a moment, that 0 point, that oneness, so you could slip through and escape out of the lower matrix. I don't know, we'll see. But and this just, but in square to Chiron, and then Venus, the exalted, the goddess coming out into the light again, taking off her mask, speaking her truth, speaking her voice, and trine to Chiron. And so Mercury square Chiron in Aries is saying we can't have a balance and harmony and peace if we keep accommodating and giving away our life force. like Aries, Chiron and Aries is wounds around giving away our life force and not being who we really are, true to ourselves. So we can't really have true balance and harmony. You can have fake balance and harmony, right? Or you compensate. It's okay. It's okay. The way the SuperNova Soul light worker, they're so aware, they're so empathic. They're like, it's okay. I'll accommodate, make it better for everybody, right? And it's like, no, you've accommodated your life force. You've given away your power. You've denied who you are to the point over these lifetimes that you don't even know who you are. And so there cannot be sustainable balance and harmony and peace if you're not being true to yourself. This is the Libra Aries axis. Did I say? Yeah. So Mercury, I meant, is opposite of Chiron, not square. Sorry. And so Mercury in moving into Libra, opposing Chiron and having that opposition of this Libra Aries axis. And then Venus is coming into a trine in Leo. Right after that, Venus trining Chiron and Aries. And that's saying harmonious support, the empowered feminine voice in all of us that's expressing their truth and feeling safe to express the truth and the magic and the mystery and the healing and the compassion is in harmonious energy with being who we really are with that Chiron. And so at the same time that they're, so Mercury is opposing Chiron, Venus trining Chiron, and then right after that, Mercury trines up with Uranus and Venus squares Uranus. And this is this alchemical thing. It's just like, okay, there's a tension and then there's a harmony and then a tension and a harmony. And it's like labor contractions, right? And you got to use that tension to move and take the rest when you get the rest. Use the rest, use the harmony, use the support. You got to reach out and do that. And we'll talk more through those because that's through the middle of September. But the astrology is just this alchemy, right? It's like the masculine going out to fight, stepping back to reevaluate the method of moving forward, the battle, the fight. What are we fighting for? And then the feminine being so silenced and broken in the dark night of the soul and stepping back out into the light in her power, and then square to each other. And then this, Mercury in Libra and Venus both interacting with Chiron and Uranus. So the interaction with Chiron is about, pain, but also support of being our true self, coming back into who we really are so that we can come into true sustainable balance and harmony. And then Uranus it's really about new frequency vibrations, new earth, new way, new paradigm. That's really what we're doing. And it has everything to do with this Mercury moving into Libra, trying to use all that polarity and all that opposition and all that contrast to just slip you back through to oneness. So a really interesting time. And it's important to note that for this month and next month, Pluto and Saturn are the closest that they will be, or they have been since they came together in January, right? That was their big conjunction. And now they're 3 degrees apart, and they'll be 3 degrees apart for these 2 months. So Saturn and Pluto, they're all kind of spread out right now. Like Jupiter's gone back to 17, so it's kind of out of the mix. And these guys are 3 degrees apart. So it's about Pluto and Saturn again. And this is about the breakdown of the authority structures where we've given our power away. Any belief system, structure, the man, politics, the bank, the boss, the leader, like everywhere throughout all time that we've said that was the law and the rule was more important than our individual destiny and our individual truth, and that's that Mars and Chiron in Aries being like, can't do it anymore. We're done. We're at the end of the road with that. We can't have anything sustainable in the new paradigm until we're willing to be who we really are here. But there's pain around that because we're so disconnected from who we really are. So all of this on the table, and just like, it's interesting that the Mars transits are coming off, Mars turning retrograde, and then, Pluto and Saturn close together. So we'll be talking through all of this. The sun is going to be coming in the middle of the month also. We'll have that Chiron activation. And then also the sun will be opposite Neptune and Virgo in opposite Neptune and Pisces. So that's going to be facing delusions about who we thought we were, what we've been pretending to be, maybe revealing who we really are in the mystical revelation of our higher, bigger self. So, we've got just a lot on the table right now and a bunch shifting. So it's just know that it's a dynamic time, as much as, Mars is turning retrograde, which is our main action planet, but it's like bam, 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 all these things happening. So don't get too attached to what you're going through. It's all about, there's definitely an energy right now of, I've been seeing this picture of stagnancy, of the way the control energies since Atlantean time that have been holding back spiritual evolution on the planet, they did it through stagnancy, the repeating of patterns, right? And so it's almost like we got on this alternate de-evolution timeline with the wrong spin ratio. But then you look at the cosmos, the stars, the planets, and it's like it's all moving. It's all moving in the same direction it always has. It's all there in form. It's like, just keep moving is the energy right now. Just keep, it's not about pushing. It's about just keep moving, because it's a super dynamic time. And this Mars retrograde is, this glitchy energy. But what's really trying to happen is that timeline alignment. And it's like, what happens when the movement timeline, right? Like we got off of this, everything's constantly moving, and we got into this paradigm of stuck and repeating and going backwards, and then these timelines are creating back together, so what does it mean when that movement energy comes back into our life? And it's powerful. The SuperNova Souls going through moments of incredible activation energies and glimpses of the new reality. And a lot of what's happening is our fear and resistance, subconscious fear and resistance coming up around these incidences, this higher vibrate. Wait, it's really happening. We're really having a week. I'm feeling it. Wait, kicked back into the lower, vibration, and all the things that are in the way coming up. And so we've got our resistance and fear programming of that higher frequency vibration. And then can we give ourselves permission to feel better? Because I'm seeing evidence after evidence in sessions, individual sessions, with how much more comfortable these higher frequency, once we get out of resistance, and allow, and it's like these higher frequency vibrations are supportive of us. It's about you starting to feel better. And that whole thing of like, you don't even know how much better you're going to feel, but part of you knows, and you're already feeling guilty and bad about feeling so much better. So you won't let yourself go feel better. But these energies are stabilizing to you, to the masses, because they're living in the material based reality and the ego reality. You have been delving and doing the work and going through it for so long, so many lifetimes, and it's like popping through, and it feels better. It's more supportive. It's easier to stabilize, right? And it's weird because as we go through these changes when you get kicked back in the lower timelines, the lower frequency vibrations, it feels like it's hard to get a grip. It's because you don't fit there anymore. That's not your house. Never was. We got kind of trapped down in here karmically, because we came to help, and then we ended up taking on and falling into the karmic delusions, and so as that dismantles, the collective is feeling increasingly uncomfortable, uncertain, and the fear, and it's like, that's not you, that's not your story. You've gone there, you've done that. That's not your your role. That's not your house. That's not your reality anymore. If you stay there, it's going to continue to get more uncomfortable, obstacles, blocking, painful. And so how do we give ourselves permission to believe, to let these energies happen and to feel supported and stabilized in the new, in this different vibration, which is like, it's a lot like, as I see these souls, get this glimpse. It's like, oh, a sigh of relief. Like, oh, like finally it makes sense. Finally I understand. And all that stuff that was wrong about me. Now it's like I finally fit in. You're an expert at this stuff. You just don't know it. You don't remember it. And so at the threshold, you've got the blocks, the obstacles, the pulling you back into the karmic and lower matrix realms. But that part of you, the bigger part of you, is just like, oh yeah, we got this. I know exactly what's going on. This is cool. Let's do this. It's finally time. And how weird it is to go back and forth between these realities. And when you go back to the lower matrix, you're like, that's not true. No, we're not. No, it's never going to get any better. We're not having a spiritual awakening. We failed. It's like, get me off this planet. Right. And then, so what a strange dance we're in, but can we use that contrast to bring us back to this one wholeness, heart consciousness, saying yes with our whole being, giving ourselves permission and being fully present to examine what the Mars retrograde contracts, showing us everything that's keeping us from that harmonious transition. And, but again, it's like, this is working for you as much as looks like it's working absolutely against a fundamental truth of who you are. And it's actually working for you. Everything is pushing you to crack that seed pod, and step into that bigger self. And so that's a lot of what we're going to be exploring in these upcoming weeks and months, and the SuperNova Soul Tribe support for the SuperNova Soul Tribe and landing that bigger self home. So hang in there. Have a wonderful weekend. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.